You got questions? Can aquafaba replace ghee? A few other people, doctors who eat whole food plant-based but are all dead or very ill. Could you possibly share your thoughts on soy foods when raising boys? How do you keep track of your recipes? Totally off topic, but have you ever said how you nicknamed your wife? Plants are literally trying to kill you. Hopefully I have some answers. Greetings and welcome to or welcome back to PB with Jay, and here we have our August 2025 mailbag video. I hope you're all enjoying the summer months. It's been a bit crazy busy for us between all the wonderful PB with Jay stuff. I'm working on another big project, and then baseball. Lots of baseball for Ephraim's team that he's playing on, and I'm coaching. So if I've been behind on comments and emails and whatnot, hope I'll catch up at some point. But this is a good way of just kind of like connecting and doing it with you all as well. So I appreciate you enjoying these videos that we do on the monthly now. And we are officially taking orders for our cookbook again. So if you've been waiting to get your hands on a physical copy of that, you can email me right here with your mailing address and I will send you more information on how to make payment. And if you just want a digital copy, you can get it on the QR code that is already on the screen. And before I get to answering your questions, I'd just like to give a quick hello to some of you who said hello to us in the comments down below. Christy from San Antonio, Texas. Kathleen from Billings, Montana. Patricia from Las Vegas. Chelsea from San Luis, California. Mika from Swansea, Massachusetts. Irene from Sydney in Australia. Spurs166 from New Bern, North Carolina, the first capital of North Carolina and the sister city to Bern, Switzerland. Thanks for the fun fact. Patricia, also from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Sandy from Southern Maryland. If you'd like a shout out here on the channel, all you have to do is say hello to us in the comments down below. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and if you want to bump up on that list, consider joining us over the Mighty Network for that perk, along with many others, the best of which is just being part of a group of like-minded individuals. All right, to your questions. Sunny Days 828 asks, "Hi Jeremy, I'm curious, how do you keep track of your recipes? I have so many cookbooks, I can't remember where the recipes I like are. I started a notebook, but things get lost. You seem very organized, and I'm expecting you have a good system. Can you share it with us, please?" Yeah, what is my system? I used to actually just keep a list in my bullet journal. I'd break it down by cookbook. Whenever I'd get a new cookbook, I would flag it. I'd get like little plastic flags that you can reuse. They're just, I think I have one in my drawer here. 1 second, don't mind me as I move my camera. They're like these things. And you can reuse them. And you just peel them off and you put them in the tab. And you can they're color coded too, so if you want to color code them by different kinds of recipes, you can do that as well. So that's something I do now when I get a cookbook from the library that we're doing for our reviews, is I usually pull those out and I put those flags inside, and then I pass that off to my family and see if there's any of the ones that I picked that they like. Or sometimes we do it in reverse where I get them to throw the flags in first. That's how I pick recipes for the cookbook reviews, which I realize is not what you asked. But it's another way to just flag recipes from a book you want to try, is to put those flags in, and when you try something, pull the flag out. You know, you could also use sticky notes if you wanted to as well. But I'm a bullet journaler. I've talked about that in a previous video that I'll put a link to in the description down below, that I would just keep like a to-do list of recipes to try in my notebook that I could go to whenever I wanted to try something new. So that might be the best way to do it. If you like a tactile notebook, you can use the flags in a cookbook. And the other thing that you can do is for recipes that you find online, just bookmark them. Keep a bookmark tab in your internet browser just for recipes you want to try. What I actually do is I have a recipes I want to try and then recipes I like, and after I try it, if I like it, I move it over to that folder. And you can get way more specific if you want to break it down into subfolders like breakfast, lunch, dessert, and whatnot. And then any recipes I really like, I convert them over handwritten into my recipe notebook, and usually by the time they end up in there, it's something that I have kind of made my own or modified enough or it's just something that's in the rotation enough, even if it's from somebody else, I put it in there, but I just make a note to remind myself that it's not a recipe I created, it's someone else's. Because, sometimes that can get confusing. So I try to keep track of it there. And it's not necessarily a perfect system, but it seems to work for me so far. I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments down below what your systems are so we can help out sunny days as well, because maybe I'll steal something from you all. John Tim 7667 says, I'm a bit worried. Chef AJ just made a video and she mentioned a few other people, doctors, who eat whole food plant-based but are all dead or very ill. So is whole food plant-based eating not working? I do not eat half as good as these people, so even if they get ill, what chance do normal people have? So that's a very valid concern. For those who aren't familiar, Chef AJ, who is a plant-based chef and a YouTuber in her own right, is currently struggling with cancer, and she's been very open about it on her own channel. If you followed her any time in the past, I recommend checking out her stuff now. So here's the thing, that the truth is, no matter how you eat, no matter how healthy you are, none of us are immune to death in the long run. A whole food plant-based diet does not mean that you will never face illness. And I think a lot of the people that AJ is talking about, or who have passed away recently, a lot of them are pioneers of the plant-based movement, if movement is the right word, that are getting on in years. They're in their 70s or 80s. And so, that's just how it goes eventually, right? No matter how you eat. And I will say the most important thing is that those people got to those old ages with a pretty significant quality of life, I would imagine. Eating whole food plant-based isn't about eliminating the risk of death. That's impossible. What it's about is about reducing the risk. Genetics, environment, past exposures to disease, all of these things kind of play a role in our overall health. I like to think that a lot of us are just kind of prone to these diseases because of genetics, right? But I'd like to think that a lot of these people, perhaps AJ included, might have had, cancer genes in their system for a long time, and eating whole food plant-based has prolonged them. Again, I'm not a doctor, right? Dude on the couch, hanging out with you. But I'd like to think that eating this way gives your body the right tools and gives you the best shot at mitigating disease and all those other kind of things as you go along. But it's not like an amazing protective shield that's going to keep you alive forever, sadly. The next question comes to us from Chantel in Scotland. Could you possibly share your thoughts on soy foods when raising boys? Some friends of mine asked me if I'm concerned about giving soy foods like tofu and soy milk, which we make our own, to our two sons who are 7 and 10. They're concerned about the effects they believe it has on their hormones. I said I didn't believe this to be true and talked about Japanese people having a low rate on cancers. My friend responded that this is because the soy they consume is fermented. My friends avoid soy foods and will only eat tempeh if at all. One is vegetarian and the others eat meat. I believe this is not at all a concern and that the hormones in animal products are more of an issue and concern even with organic foods. However, it has played on my mind and I can see you are a well-researched family man. What are your thoughts on this, if you don't mind my asking? I don't mind your asking at all. First of all, I think it's super, super awesome that you're introducing these kind of foods to your children. If you introduce things like tofu and tempeh and other plant-based ingredients early on, the chances of them eating them throughout their lives are much improved. Now, you're concerned about soy. I get the concern. We get this question a lot. I'd like to think by this point, all of the myths about soy and its dangers for men have been long since squashed. I wrote some stuff down just so I get this all right. I don't want to miss anything. The confusion about soy usually comes from the phytoestrogens, especially the isoflavonoids. Apologies if If I pronounce that wrong, I usually do. I usually get that word kind of off. And these things, they sound similar to estrogen, but the research consistently shows that whole soy foods like tofu, tempeh, edamame, and even soy milk are not only safe for kids to eat, but can actually have productive health benefits. The confusion mostly comes from the misunderstanding that phytoestrogens, which are plant compounds that don't act the same as the human estrogen in the body. They actually seem to have either neutral or beneficial effects on hormone health. So there you go. It's not the same as estrogen, right? The soy as it works in the human body and the soy that you get from plant foods. Countries like Japan, where soy is a regular part of the diet, both fermented and unfermented, have lower rates of certain cancers and other chronic diabetes, and that includes men as well. And as you said, if your friends are concerned about hormones in the food they're eating, animal products are a much bigger concern than anything you're going to have in the realm of soy. So maybe have your friends look into that. If they're throwing the spotlight on you, just turn around on them and be like, have you thought about it in terms of what you put into your body? All this to say, I also think that you are a super duper awesome parent for the fact that you are asking this question and thinking about your children. Even if you have had that concern, it's good to just always check in. Research and information changes all the time. So it's just good to keep up on it, as I try to do, but I'm not always 100% right either. I try to I redact statements. If I get misinformation, I do my best as I write to you from my couch. And by write to you, I mean speak directly to you through my camera. Brody YYC says, plants are literally trying to kill you. So deciding to eat more plants than the average person is just foolish. I guess you've never heard of oxalates. You think plants don't evolve ways to stop animals from eating them? All right, here we go. We've talked about oxalates on the channel before, but let's cover it again. Yes, plants do have natural defense mechanisms that help protect them, things like oxalates, tannins, lectins. But here's the thing, just as you mentioned that plants have evolved, guess what? People evolve as well. Our bodies are amazing at being able to digest the compounds found in plant foods, including the ones that we just mentioned. Especially when we cook our food and eat a variety of them rather than just overloading on one specific food. That's why we talk about eating the rainbow and eating a variety of plant foods. Oxalates are found in a lot of plant foods like spinach, beets, and almonds, but they're also just naturally present in small amounts of a lot of healthy foods. Now, for the vast majority of people, it's not actually an issue at all. If you suffer from something like kidney stones, then yeah, maybe you have to worry about oxalates more than the average person. Saying that plants are trying to kill us because they have oxalates is like saying that water is trying to drown us because it can. It's just kind of a silly thing to say. There's no shortage of research and science that supports eating a well-balanced whole food plant-based diet that includes a lot of plants that have so many benefits, from fiber to antioxidants. The list goes on and on and on. That doesn't mean only eating plants in terms of vegetables and fruits. It also means eating legumes and seeds and stuff like that. Eating more plants is not only not foolish, but it's actually the best thing you can do for your body. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. Let's check in 30 years from now and see how both of our insides look. Lynn Alexander 1200 says, totally off topic, but have you ever said how you nicknamed your wife? Woolie, it's a fun name, and I was just curious. I did answer this in a previous Q&A, but I actually even just got an email about this today. So I'll cover it again for the newer people in our audience who haven't gone back and found that video. I did not nickname Woolie and give her that name. That is actually a name she has had for most of her life. And it's not that exciting of an answer, to be honest with you. Her maiden name is Woolner. And so she got called Woolie when she was younger by friends. I think actually her brother was called Woolie as well. And then she's taken it over. Anyway, so I heard that early on in our dating. I almost said dating career. I heard that early on when we were dating, and it just stuck, and that's just what I call her. I call her Woolie. I've always called her Woolie. It's actually rare for me to use her real name. Zara Bees 2123 asks, can aquafaba replace ghee? Yes and no. So ghee actually has a very different function than aquafaba. They serve different roles in cooking. So let me just refer to my notes so I get this correctly. So ghee is typically used for like sauteing and frying and richness in flavor. And aquafaba, typically, the way I use it anyway, I use it as like an emulsifier, a binder, like an egg replacer. So you can't really use aquafaba for sauteing and frying. I would just use water instead. It doesn't really serve the same purpose there. Because ghee is about richness and mouthfeel, and aquafaba is about lightness and moisture. So I'm gonna say no, even though earlier I said yes and no. So if you're using it for like cooking and frying, no. But if you're using it the way you might use ghee in baking, the way you would use butter, then yeah, you could. Thank you for sending these questions. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can either send them in the comments down below in this or any other video here on the channel, or you could hit me up with an email as well. I get a lot of questions from there that I sometimes throw into here. Thanks for watching this video and being interested in my responses to your questions. If you haven't hit that like button, do so now and subscribe for more videos like this. We are trying to get to 70,000 subscribers this fall to help us maybe be potentially eligible for some funding for some things we want to do here on the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you are still sticking around, this video is just, it's sitting here. It's ready for you. It wants to be watched. Why don't you just watch it? That's what it wants.